Because it's easier, you know, like I don't have to say.
April 28th, 2022. Public meeting. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Here.
Mr. Kraus, Ms. Lubner, Mrs. Mitchell,
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Here.
Ms. Kellett,
Here.
Mr. Sweeney,
Is
Mr.
it
Zimmerman.
Here.
Adina, say here.
We're on an 8-second delay.
Can we stand for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a reading of the meeting notice, please?
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this provision of the Act, Vernon Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published, and adequate notice has been provided, and notice of this meeting has been properly posted in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law.
Thank you. Item D, closed session. It is recommended that the board enter closed session for purposes of discussing personnel matters. Can I have a motion for item D?
So moved.
Mr. O'Donnell, Mr. Zimmerman, all in favor?
Aye.
We are in closed.
So moved.
Mr. Sweeney, second.
Second.
Ms. Luzner, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, presentations. Anthony, you have the camera on, right?
Yes. Where's Dr. McKay?
Where is Dr. McKay?
I have the sentences, but I don't know if he has the,
It's over, the box is over there, but we should wait for
where's the
him.
box? Oh, over there?
Yeah.
Can we wait for Dr. McKay?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like him to be a part.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
no,
no,
absolutely.
definitely.
Anthony, can we flip the camera?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes,
Yes.
please. Thank you so much. And the microphone's on, right?
Dr. McKay.
Did you see Chuck out there?
Is Dr.
Is Chuck
McKay?
out there? Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Dr. McKay.
Hey. He needs to present. You're on. We're doing this, and I didn't want to start without you. Okay. It is.
Lecture right here. Every year, Board of Education, we get to honor our Teachers of the Year and our assistants, educational professionals who help us every year. And they're here right now with their families. And I just want to say to everyone how proud we are to be affiliated with you. every day as colleagues. We see each other and they add a richness to our lives that no one realizes until they start to think about retirement. And when you start to think about leaving, which I'm doing, and you realize how you make these friendships and how important they are to you. We are a family. Sometimes dysfunctional, but we're a family. And there's real love there. So I see friends here, I see family here, but I also see colleagues here. Way to go. See. All right. The first person that we're going to honor is not here tonight, but we have to talk about him. So the Vernon Township Teacher of the Year is Mr. Nathan Turner. Mr. Turner fully immerses himself in his profession as a world language teacher, holds every student accountable, and builds a sense of community within his Spanish classes. In addition, through his inauguration with the new club at Vernon Township High School called Colors of Excellence, he has provided our students with a unique opportunity to learn and grow together. So congratulations to Mr. Turner. This next person is Mariana Amato, and she is Glen Meadows Middle School's Teacher of the Year. The time and dedication that Mrs. Amato gives to each of her students and to her colleagues goes well above and beyond the traditional expectations, as there are many fibers that weave through the Vernon Township community, and she deserves this recognition for her exceptional teaching skills and her ever-present human care. My friend, you are a star. Well deserved.
Hold on, please. I gotta
Okay, so moving on, and thank you. And once again, I'd like to echo what Dr. McKay said earlier. It really is, it's our favorite night of the year. We talk about this all the time. And a special thank you to Mrs. Amato for putting up with my daughter in her science class. So thank you. This next award goes to Lounsbury Hollow School, and the recipient is Mr. Carlson. He is well respected by his colleagues, peers, students, and parents, as well as by the building principal at Lounsbury Hollow School. Mr. Carlson continues to excel as a highly enthusiastic and motivating health and physical education teacher for students in their elementary school years. And I'd also like to add that he's an exceptional coach, and we are very, very grateful to have him. Congratulations, Steve.
Congratulations, pal. Thank you. Well done. Okay, so I have to say something about this. When I had the luck to be here as principal, there is no louder or more rocking class than our gym class. So they have this running time in the beginning of class, and he rocks out with like Taylor Swift and all this stuff. And I was like, every day just drawn from my office just to go down here and fist bump the kids. So well, thanks for yeah.
Congratulations.
For Rolling Hills, the Teacher of the Year is Alicia Perry. Now, Ms. Perry establishes high expectations for her students' learning and achievement in her classes, while at the same time focusing on the intellectual, social, and emotional development of her students. And if you've ever seen a more energetic teacher, I don't know who that would be, because she is outstanding. Come on up, Perry.
Congratulations. Well deserved. Ms. Smith is taking pictures.
Yeah.
Should. Okay.
Right. Now, in Cedar Mountain, you have wonderful teachers who are constantly caring for students, and you see these wonderful classrooms in which children are alive, sometimes too alive, and excitable, and etc. And then there's this person who weaves magic in the classroom because of her soft voice in which she talks to students, and every one of them knows that they are loved. Ms. Zerkovitz has a kind heart, a keen sense of understanding a child's needs, and her enthusiasm and concern for students are reflected not only in the outstanding quality of her work as a professional, but also in the many school-based activities she participates in. So Cedar Mountain's Teacher of the Year is Diana Zerkovitz.
Let's give you this plaque. Oh, yeah. Ironically, I'm doing Walnut Ridge, even though Dr. McKay is also.
I'll be glad to do it.
Walnut Ridge. We're gonna share. We always share, right? So this teacher, I will mention her in a moment, is a creative and innovative teacher who's driven to make sure her students get the best of everything. To that end, she has created a classroom that is a wonderland of activities. The students are in constant motion in various centers, and she makes sure that each of those centers are meticulously planned out every day. Because we understand what type of teacher she is, when she asked for the largest classroom in the building, she got it. It's now filled to the brim with opportunities for each child in her charge. I'd also like to add that she's, and we mentioned this, highly innovative, is constantly writing grants, looking for new ways to involve our very youngest learners, including using coding and robots and at the very, very youngest ages. Congratulations to Virginia Vanderbeck.
Yeah. Okay, I said about the large classroom because I have to talk about it.
That's awesome.
Virginia is this side of what we might consider a pack rat, but having said that, the truth of the matter is, in a wonderful, wonderful way, everything she brings into school has something to do with her children. If your child's sitting in this class, they will never, ever be bored.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's for you.
All right.
All right. Start with the ESP, right? So the other wonderful honor that Dr. McKay and I have is to talk about our educator service professionals. These are folks who are not necessarily teachers, but they're really, really important for everything that happens in our school district. The first person we're going to recognize is from Vernon Township High School. As our student assistance counselor, she has a remarkable way of connecting with students and staff members. Her genuine concern and supportive nature make her a most incredible resource and valuable leader for everyone at Vernon Township High School and the Vernon community. Congratulations to Kate Romeo.
Nice.
Congratulations. There's pictures. I see Dr. Anderson and, wait, what are we gonna do here? Let's go here. Which letter? All right, this is difficult. We'll get it from you. Congratulations.
You want to take one? Come on.
I'll just get it.
All right.
Next it's a polling.
Congratulations,
All right.
Kate.
Do you want to do the next one? Chuck?
Outstanding.
You wanna
Sure.
read Meadow and I'll-
Sure, love to. The Glen Meadow superstar is a close friend and probably one of the most wonderful people of all. She's a classroom teacher, but she's also taken on the role of working with students and making sure that they're taken care of. So the winner is Veronica Dignan-Gorbett. Here's what we have to say about it. Come on. You have a calming demeanor. You care for everyone. You spend countless hours assisting administration with investigative practices. You know that. Sometimes I get emails and it's 7 o'clock and I know that you and Jackie haven't left yet. And and ensure that our students are able to learn in a safe environment, free from harassment and intimidation.
Yep.
So the-
Congratulations. All right. Do you have the chart? Do you want to do the next one?
Tara's not here, but
Oh,
we have
she's
to
not?
read about it.
Okay, so unfortunately, the next recipient is not here. However, we are going to mention, this person is from the Lounsbury Hollow School, Tara Walsh, who unfortunately couldn't be here this evening. But Mrs. Walsh is a highly effective collaborative speech language therapist who works closely with numerous teachers at Lounsbury Hollow School to ensure her students make progress in improving on articulation, understanding of content, form, and the use of language. Congratulations, Tara.
It's Tom Mellinger. Let's see.
I don't see you either. You have to read it.
No, of course. You want to read it?
Sure.
All right.
Okay. I don't believe we were just scanning the audience. And Chuck and I are not seeing Tom Eilinger from Owens Hills Primary School. Now, Mr. Eilinger goes above and beyond on a daily basis to create a safe, healthy, and supportive learning environment that strengthens connections between all stakeholders. Congratulations, Tom.
He is literally everywhere, and he's a real child advocate, and of course, involved in all the things with hockey. Tom's just all great guy. So.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure. Okay. Ashley Karlowitz. Miss Karlowitz is a knowledgeable, caring, kind, and positive person who is loved by the students that she works with. She has made a tremendous and valuable impact upon the students that she works with, her students' families, as well as her colleagues and her school community as a whole. Congratulations. All right, from Cedar Mountain.
And another one.
All right, let's go. Get a picture. Come on.
Superstar.
Awesome.
Okay, we have the plaque, right?
Yep.
All right, so I know that Chuck and I will both probably ad lib about this person.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I'll
we
start-
definitely have.
I'll start with what's on the paper.
Okay. And then we'll go.
And then we'll ad lib.
Excellent.
Okay, so the next person is from the Walnut Ridge School, and this is for Kim Muller. She's gonna cry, I'm just saying. She's probably, you're already crying, aren't you? I knew it. Anyway, Miss Muller is our extraordinary nurse, and that is a job and a half with the preschool population. However, she's so much more to our district. Last year, as COVID was raging, Kim was our district COVID nurse. And I think I still call her COVID Kim, which is a terrible nickname. But with all the love in the world, and she knows that. And she was, I know. And she was responsible.
Typhoid Mary.
That's a lot of love, right? And she was responsible for keeping everyone informed. She worked with Chuck and I regarding Cali scores and Department of Health edicts, changing mandates from the state, all the nuances of trying to test our staff anonymously. It has been a gargantuan task, one, quite frankly, that was too large for any one person. However, she has handled it with aplomb and with kindness. I'd be remiss if I didn't say how grateful I was to the late night phone calls, weekend calls and texts, Zooms at all hours of the day and night. We all went through a tremendous, challenging time during COVID. Kim really was the backbone in supporting the administration, as well as trying to keep our faculty safe, our children safe, and working, of course, with a fine nursing staff. And she really, this is so well deserved. Congratulations.
All right, so wait. So we had the special, here, when, year before Kim would have a binder.
She still has it.
And, you know, in would come the information about someone with COVID.
Yeah.
And Kim would have her calendar, she would be counting the days, she would be talking, and then someone would say, well, what's the policy from the CDC? Or what's the policy from?
Yep.
And Kim would go, okay, well, that's over here. All right, and that reads this, so you tell them this, and then this. And she was the one saying no and yes, and that was a really,
It was
really
hard.
hard job.
It was really
Really
hard.
hard job. This
Yeah.
year it's been a little bit easier, but we have all the lovely peanuts to make us happy.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, congratulations, John.
Congratulations.
Wonderful. Okay. That is us. Yes. Beautiful.
I'd just like to ask the board, let's give a standing ovation
Yes.
to our.
Yeah. Now, before we break for our celebration, we have another congratulations to let you in on. And it's great that there's an audience here because we are a school district and we are a family, and one of our own, our boss, congratulations to Miss Karen Davino, who is now Dr. Karen Davino, Superintendent of Schools, on earning her Educational Leadership Management and Policy doctoral degree from the University of Pennsylvania. In case anybody has some, that's an Ivy League school. She successfully defended her dissertation, which was titled "The Underrepresentation of Female Superintendents in New Jersey, what are the personal and societal considerations and influences that contribute to the underrepresentation?" It was a brilliant dissertation. We are delighted and to honor you, and congratulations, my friend, Dr. Karen Davino.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's very nice. Thank you.
Okay, and while we're here, let's stay right up here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
While we're here, when all of these awards happen and all of the organization that comes with getting plaques together and getting things, that's the person's. So let's get it out to make sure that- Now, is Ava here? No, all right, but we do want to honor her. All right. Good, all right. We've been talking about this at the board meeting for the last two board meetings. So when it first came out, we found out that we had an art student in 8th grade who was presented with the idea of copying a Monet painting, a very famous one of a woman. And if any of you have ever been artists or painting, you know how difficult it is, particularly to do hands and facial features, right? So this young lady, Ava Dilzer, did an amazing portrait of a Monet. We had it in the board, we had it in the board office for a while. We had it on easel, and then we showed the board members last time. Well, here's the fascinating thing. Ava took first place at the Walk-Hill Valley Regional High School Annual Art Show. So congratulations to John Meadow. Congratulations to Mrs. Herkler, who's our art teacher. We're so proud of Ava and her accomplishments. So that's really something. All right.
We're going to take a short recess. I need a motion to recess for our honorees. We're going to have a little refreshments and celebrate.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Vernon, Mr. Sweeney. Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
ready as well.
Me too.
You are?
I need a motion to go back into open.
So moved.
Mr. Sweeney, I need a second.
Second.
Ms. Luther,
You gotta move that closer.
It's so close. Is that?
all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, okay.
No, it's
Okay, item 2, Ms. Joseph, you're up.
Are we gonna, what are we gonna have it at the,
Wherever you want it.
Just like we
Where
did
do you
last
want
time.
okay, but
Mr.
where do you want me
Petrano.
to stand?
We're gonna stand where we did last time.
That's what I thought. You're
gonna have it in both places.
Do you want it in both places, Karen, or you're okay?
But there's only gonna be 2 people here. We don't know how many people are gonna be online.
We see that.
Right, right. Let me run to the restroom.
Yeah, I just did. Oh, we're doing this too.
We need some music.
You have to sing first.
Oh,
Whoa.
warning on the lights.
We need that spotlight. Dun, 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 dun.
Don't have to go home, but you can't stay there.
Microphones.
Do you sing? Because that's next.
No, that's the opening. That's the opening.
A little soft, perhaps.
Yeah. And John can play, right, John? Yeah.
I'm making no comments over here, folks. All right, are we up here? Are we gathered together?
We are. Thank you so much.
We are gathered together tonight for our public hearing for the 2022-23 school year. And as we had done last month, okay, I'm going to go to the Glossary of Terms, which I think is, again, helpful when we have a budget and also throughout the year so that everyone can understand certain when we talk or speak at different points in a board meeting. So therefore, I've put together 2 pages for clarification. A budget consists of revenues and appropriations. The appropriations we have are 5 separate funds. One of them is Fund 10, which is for charter schools. That's charter school tuition. The second fund is Fund 11, which is all our general fund expenses. Fund 12 has 2 components. One is capital outlay for smaller projects, but using general funds money. The second component of Fund 12 is the capital reserve, which is for larger and large projects funded by our capital reserve account. So again, in Fund 12, there's 2 things that are in there. Fund 20, as we know, is our grants. They could be federal, they could be local, and they could be state. And these are appropriations that by applying for a grant or receiving a grant, okay, we have to qualify, and there are terms and conditions of these grants. Fund 40 is our debt service. It's the repayment schedule of the principal and interest on the repayment of a bond referendum or bond referendums. Next, for revenue. We have 3 funds for revenue. Fund 10 incorporates in the appropriations section, Fund 10, Fund 11, and Fund 12. Fund 20, as I stated before, is the revenue for your grant monies, federal, state, or local. Fund 40, again, is our debt service monies, and that's for local taxes and state aid to repay this bond. Those are the 2 ways that the bond repayment is done. Other definitions are general tax fund or general fund tax levy. These are the monies that we generate through our local taxation, which we will be approving tonight, the tax certification for the general fund appropriations. The debt service tax levy is money generated through local taxation to share funding with the state of New Jersey to pay down the debt. So for the debt service, the 2 items are regular tax levy, local tax levy monies, as well as our state provides us with some state aid on that. Now, another phrase we use is bank cap allowance. And bank cap allowances are monies when the tax levy that goes up to 2% is not used in full. And therefore, we can carry those monies into different years. And it depends upon how many years you do not go up to the 2%. So then the remaining monies are made available 3 years, okay, to use that particular school year that you didn't go up to the 2% tax levy. Budgeted fund balance. Now, these are the monies used for additional revenue to balance the appropriation side of the budget. These monies are from the restricted surplus amounts identified in the school audit. So each year, the auditor has all the calculations and formulas, and they come up with a restricted surplus. These monies are the excess surplus, okay, has a date on it. So in the audit, you will find that this excess surplus line that's there gives a specific year that it has to be used in. Then again, there's called unassigned fund balance monies. These monies are not specific of when to use them, but at the same time, they could be used in the second, third, fourth year, whatever you want, and it's accumulated. So therefore, it again can be more or less depending on your usage. And that concludes the glossary of terms. I didn't know if somebody was behind me. I thought I was. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is our state aid reduction. And you know how critical this is, okay, in every school district, but also in our school district. And the table that the state had decided to come upon, okay, they gave back to us about, 4 years ago. And in Vernon, okay, we stand to lose about $9.9 million as an aggregate after all of these years. Now, this year, we were told that we would have a reduction of $2.3 million in the 22-23 school year. However, we did not have the entire reduction, and therefore we were reduced $1,723,707. We still had a reduction, but it wasn't as much as we had originally been told we were. Next slide. General fund revenues. The general fund revenues, as you can see here, okay, is what we had, the local tax levy in the 21-22 school year, 22-23 school year, the change, okay, and the percentage change. And it goes all the way down. And the total budget change was 2.9% for 22-23. Next slide. The proposed tax levy, as we calculated, was 2% initially, because that was the rate we can go up to. And then we had $44,144 in bank cap. We chose to use it this year. Therefore, it brought us to $44,737,965. So that brings us up a little bit more than the 2% because of the $44,000 that we have used in bank cap, and we do not have any more bank cap to use. The next slide is general fund expenditures. We categorize a lot of these things, okay, so we don't just lump them together, or it's easier to lump them into categories. The first one is teaching and instructional programs. Second one is instructional support services, okay, and this instructional support services is personnel as well as outside services. The out-of-district tuition, as we know we have to pay. Charter school tuition, which is in Fund 10, as I stated. Okay, transportation is another category. Then we have the administration category, and we have maintenance and operation plus the debt assessment. Interestingly enough, the state came off about 5 years ago stating that anybody who ever had a bond referendum and was receiving debt service aid, they're going to charge you continually, okay, a small amount of money because you used, okay, the ability to have debt service state aid. So therefore, it's mandatory that we place, and I believe off the top of my head, it's about $10,000. Not a lot of money, but every school district who's ever done a bond has to have this. Okay, so this is an addition. So therefore, as you see, the 2.9, okay, increase is stated there as well. The next one is the proposed tax rate. Many things are calculated in that. We did the average assessment, the tax rate, et cetera. And also they take in the net valuation of Vernon. Now that changes every year. We receive from the county office a booklet and pages and pages and pages, all types of evaluations or valuations for Vernon. The one that we use is called the net value taxable. And therefore it comes to, after we've put the money in, et cetera, okay, the difference is $101.95 for the entire year that we would be raising our taxes. And I believe that concludes my financial report. The next is Dr. Vino. You want this? Can you see?
I'm gonna read
You
it
okay?
first.
You can read it? Okay, good.
I can, at least for now.
Thank you.
Carolyn.
Thank you, Carolyn. So the next few slides are the statement of priorities. When a school district is required to build the budget, not only is there the financial piece that Ms. Joseph just talked about, but the school district leadership, myself, Dr. McKay, are required to put together what's called a statement of priorities. And there are a couple of categories. I'll go through them briefly. But these are inclusions essentially in our budget that we are required to provide for our students or our faculty based on the program of studies and the programs and the courses that we offer for our children. So as you can see, we are requiring or we are promising through the statement of priorities that we'll be allocating funds for things like curricular improvements and facilities needs. We've talked about facilities needs quite a bit. The next generation science standards curriculum is included as well. That's really important with some of the changes to the science curriculum, not just at the high school, but also at the middle school. We're also expanding on the use of Math in Focus, which is one of the math programs that we use here. Focuses on lots of manipulatives for children so that they can learn to manipulate numbers through mathematics. Obviously, the ongoing technology needs. Facility improvements, we're prioritizing health, safety, and security of staff and students. When the county office reviews our budget, they do review the statement of priorities to see that what we are promising in our statement of priorities is also aligned to the budget line items that Ms. Joseph just talked about. Things like the continued support of our staff and professional development. Obviously, the reduction of class size, which we aim to do through the use of stabilization aid. The stabilization funds are really important to reduce our class size. Over the last few years, due to the increase in state aid, our class sizes have climbed to be instructionally what we feel is unacceptable. And that reduction will occur based on the stabilization funds that we're receiving. And of course, the capital reserve funds, which are some of the things that Ms. Joseph just talked about when she did her presentation, include things like the windows at the high school and the middle school, the bridge and balcony at Glen Meadow, acoustical and noise exposure hazards at Glen Meadow Middle School in the band room, and other repairs such as the Vernon Township High School tennis courts. Next slide. I've condensed some of these sections, but raising standards, expanding opportunities, and building professionalism are all categories that are required by the Department of Education for Dr. McKay and I to put together and support in verbal promises to the taxpayers and make sure that our budget accurately reflects this. Things like internships and hands-on learning opportunities in our CTEs. Sometimes we call them work-based learning opportunities in our career technical ed programs, concurrent college classes at a reduced cost to parents. That's super important because when a child takes a college class after they've graduated, they're paying sometimes thousands of dollars per credit. When they're taking concurrent classes at the high school, they're paying sometimes less than a couple of $100s per credit. So there's a significant cost savings for our parents. K-8, continued improvement in fine performing and practical arts, and of course the traditional areas that we sometimes call the four core, so that our children can be prepared for higher level classes that exist at the high school and beyond. We have some really amazing programs at the high school. It's our responsibility to make sure that K-8, we are preparing our children for the high school. Collaborative opportunities for teachers to work together to analyze common obstacles and possible solutions. Directors and supervisors providing support and professional development and learning. These are some of the things we do during common planning times to talk about instruction and really raising the bar on elevating teaching and learning. Constantly provide for instructional and support staff to learn new technology initiatives in an effort to streamline the workload that is required in the classroom. The next two sections under the statement of priorities requirements are protecting our investment, planning for the future, and learning standards. Some additional security initiatives are things that the board and I and Dr. McKay have talked about, and making sure that we are taking care of our investment, which is our school building, as well as our employees, of course. The cost of installing vape detectors, which is to deter our children from participating in activities they should not be participating in our schools. The Buildings and Grounds Committee has assessed our facility needs along with EI Associates. And the LRFP, which was created this year, utilizes capital funds to address significant facilities concerns delayed due to the loss of state aid. These are all protecting our investment, right? When we are talking about new windows or tennis courts that don't have cracks that could be a danger to people, we're protecting the investment that we're making as a school district into our school facilities, the infrastructure, as well as learning opportunities, curriculum, et cetera, for our faculty. Like I mentioned, hiring teachers to reduce class size. It will also be essential, however, over the next few years for the board and I to reduce spending to adjust for the loss of state aid. Like Ms. Joseph indicated, we're losing almost $10 million over 6 years. So we will be focusing on how to reduce spending in certain areas as we move forward. We also need to find savings each year so that any unused fund balance can assist us with building future years' budgets. We still have to look for continued improvements in curriculum, staff, and facilities. This is really important so that our Vernon students are in a favorable position. And you'll see in the superintendent's report a little bit more what I'm talking about what our children do when they graduate Vernon High School. It's very exciting. And of course, we have to continue to provide diverse learning opportunities, not only in language arts, math, science, social studies, et cetera, but also diverse learning opportunities, particularly at the high school, to meet the needs of students who are entering an ever-changing society. These are all promises, essentially, that we make through the statement of priorities that have to be reflected in various line items in the budget. Without going into the particulars on grants, when we did the preliminary budget presentation, there were 15 or 20 or 25 slides. But the four categories in general are competitive, non-competitive, state, and federal. Not going to go into that this evening in detail, but the next two slides, you can advance, Mr. Vetrano, kind of outline our total numbers, right? So non-competitive state and federal grants from 21-22 is over $3 million. I stress that because the efforts of Dr. McKay, Mr. Gagliostro, Mr. Rogers, Robin Homestead, Pam Kocher, there are so many people who work very, very hard in our grants. As you can see, some of these are things that everybody received, right? ESSER funds this year. Perkins is not, right? But some of these things came from the federal government based on COVID. But these monies were used, of course, to offset the cost of some of the really important things that were happening during the COVID-19 pandemic. The next one talks a little bit more about other grant appropriations and to highlight the ones that are competitive grants, just for a point of for the public, almost $4.2 million are competitive grants won by Vernon Township School District staff. And the reason I wanted to share this is that, for example, the 21st Century Community Learning Center, it's an after-school program at Glen Meadow that many of our families know about, is an opportunity for parents to take advantage of a free after-school program that was won by district staff. Without the opportunity to have these grants supporting these programs in our district, this might be money that would have to be budgeted if we really wanted these programs in our district. So the utilization of grants and the application of grants is really essential to provide robust, vibrant programs without an additional burden on the taxpayer. So let's talk a little bit about capital projects. This budget, finally, I'm very proud and I'm grateful to the board for supporting it, addresses some of the facilities issues that we've had in our district for quite some time. And what typically happens when you get down to budgeting, it's probably similar to your home budget. You've got everything that you want to do. You want to fix, the windows or the roof or whatever, but you've only got a finite amount of money to repair your home. And you have to make decisions on what stays in your budget, what gets repaired and what doesn't. And what's happened here in Vernon over the last several years is that we've always prioritized teaching and learning, as well we should. We take care of our children and we're very proud of our teachers. However, We do have some buildings that are starting to be in disrepair. So the first one you'll see is the Glen Meadow Windows project. And there are aged and failing windows. We have a lack of fresh circulated air. If you remember from a couple of slides ago, I talked about prioritizing health and safety of our staff and students. And this certainly speaks to the need of making sure that our faculty and children feel valued, that they're in a safe, comfortable, healthy learning environment. These are the Vernon Township High School windows. They're aged and not properly sealed. We're looking at drafts, loss of heat, energy, water damage, and a lack of fresh circulated air. You can see in some of these, the top right picture has some cracks around the window. And I think the next slide may have some other pictures as well. There you can see where some of the seals are broken. Of course, that's not anything we would want in our homes. So we certainly don't want that for our high school teachers or for our children. This is another one of our capital projects. This is the Glen Meadow Middle School Band Room. As many of you know, the middle school band room was once a shop. It has these large cavernous ceilings, typical of like a cathedral ceiling, and the sound, of course, gets lost there. Unfortunately, we have nearly hazardous levels of volume in that room because we don't have appropriate acoustical paneling in there. And this is another item that will be addressed under our capital projects. Again, sorry, it's a former shop room. And as you can see, we have lessons in the hallway, sound disturbed students in the nearby classrooms. It's really essential that this is one of the projects we're taking on under capital projects. Glen Meadow Middle School has a bridge or balcony. For those of you familiar with our schools, of course, our buses generally drop off in front, but we have a back door entrance to Glen Meadow Middle School, and there's a balcony that goes from the parking lot with a walkway over to the back entrance of Glen Meadow Middle School. Unfortunately, the bridge and balcony are in disrepair and they need to be repaired or replaced. I think we have a few more pictures. There we go. So there are some structural issues there. And these are, of course, of significant concern when we're talking about safety for our faculty and staff. You can see some of the, in the pictures, some of the crumbling bricks and cracks in the concrete. And those are things that really need to be addressed structurally to make sure that they are safe for our folks. Tennis courts at Vernon Township High School. You'll see in the next picture, but this is a general picture of the cracks that we have in the tennis courts. Obviously, a significant safety concern for anybody who uses those tennis courts. In this picture, you can see a pen that shows you how deep some of the cracks are. The pavement is cracking and repair is required. We do need to investigate the underlayment condition and statement of the compaction to see exactly what needs to happen, but we take great pride in our facilities. As you know, we replaced the turf on the football field. It looks beautiful. It was a significant investment, but that's also a safety issue, right? We don't want our players getting injured, and we don't want to be put in a similar position with the tennis courts at the high school. So next steps, first, I'd like to congratulate Ms. Joseph. And based upon the last discussion that we had with the board, she submitted the budget to the county, the preliminary budget, to the executive county superintendent, and that was approved. Which is wonderful. So there's a check mark there. Tonight is the public hearing for the final budget, which we're working on. And then depending on the, of course, public participation, which is the public hearing, the board's vote. Once that all happens this evening, the user-friendly budget is posted to the school website after the public hearing. And then the certification of the amount fixed and determined to the County Board of Taxation is due May 19th of 2022. And the last slide, I believe, is questions open to, I guess, the board. Would you like to start there, Ms. Mitchell?
Sure. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. Was this budget put together prior to our sidebar agreements with the unions?
Yeah.
We're going to reduce our monies that we need significantly if we take a lot of people to take up the sidebar.
But it's time sensitive, so it's an unknown.
Yeah. And also our transportation budget, is that an estimate or is that a finite number?
You're asking me.
Anybody who knows, I don't know.
It is an educated guesstimate. No one can sit here, okay, on April 28th, knowing what September 1st, because I don't want to use July and August, what we have in store for us.
I understand that.
So therefore, that's why we've used educated, estimates, okay, the best we can. And we'll see what comes up during the course of the year as well to add, maybe sometimes decrease, but basically add routes, okay, when necessary. So all those thoughts came in mind, and that's how that budget was created.
Thank you. I know, but it's a large number. It's like $1.9 million, something like that.
Yes.
More than what we usually do, right?
Yes, well, because what happened is initially, remember, 500,000 was cut the year before. And we, in November, had to make a transfer of 500,000 into the transportation account because it was definitely needed. And I think with the students back because of COVID, and not to blame anything, but that is the truth, we weren't transporting students. And there was not an easy way to make a budget back then to determine how much everything would cost. And we didn't really have, the for hindsight that we have of just bus drivers, gasoline, and everything else that they had back even in 21 and 22 school year.
Thank you. I'm just concerned about raising the tax in town by 2.1% in this economy, when we kind of know we're going to be gaining money through those salary reductions. And I personally think that number is too large. And I think that we can make up that money. We don't raise that what is it? Less than $1 million in tax? Whatever it was 1.2 million, maybe, I think it was.
Hold on.
I don't think we need to do that. I don't think we need to raise taxes in this economy, because this economy is crazy for people in this town, everywhere. People on fixed incomes, I don't think they have another $100 in their pocket.
It was 900 and some.
We don't know how the sidebars will net out.
We don't. And
Yeah.
so it's monopoly money, and you can't count on that. So if you make a decision based on that,
See, we were supposed to know those numbers tonight, and then it got pushed forward. Right? That's all I'm saying. It got pushed forward for whatever reasons, but pushed forward past the budget, right? So, okay,
Even so, the savings are in the further years out, more of them, right? This coming year is not where the bulk of the savings will lie due to the overlay.
I'm just really uncomfortable raising taxes. but
I
okay.
understand that, me too.
Never an easy decision.
No, I 100% agree, but yeah, whatever. Okay, I've said my piece.
thanks, John. Anybody else? Okay. Well, then seeing nobody else, we'll move on to item G. Approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Mr. Sweeney? Ms. Luther? Can I have a roll call? Oh, sorry. I just heard.
That side.
Ms. Pellet?
We're starting to sound alike now.
Roll call, please. You're both sounding alike now. Roll call, I'm sorry.
Ms. Luther,
Yes, abstain were noted.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes, abstain were noted.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes, abstain were noted.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes, abstain were noted.
Mr. Kraus.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to public participation. If anybody in the audience would like to come up, come to the podium. Come to the podium. Just make sure you sign in at the podium, please, and state your name and section of town.
There you go.
I didn't really. Was it- oh, where is it?
Good evening. My name is Karen Zapula. I'm from Highland Lakes. I have 2 adult children and a 15-year-old who is a freshman at the high school. I'd like to share a beautiful letter that Dr. Anderson wrote to Trevor, who's back in January. Things were a little hectic, so I haven't been here. But now that we're coming to the end of the school year, I want to share on how well he's doing, how positive, because as you know, for those of you who have been here, what I went through years prior with Trevor and harassment and bullying and so forth, that this year has been the first in 3 years that has been such an amazing year, going to school and very positive, no problems, and it's such a great feeling. And I thank everybody that has been such a support for him, Dr. Anderson, his caseworker Cassandra, he has great teachers. But I want to share this. So it says, "Dear Trevor, we were asked to write to 2 students to let them know that we are very proud of them. Well, guess what? I thought of you right away. I am so proud of how you have handled your anxiety and to come to school every day. I'm so proud of your positive attitude. I'm so proud of how you have stood up for yourself this year. I'm so proud of you for making new friends. I'm so proud of you and wishing you all the best, Dr. Anderson." He brought this letter home and oh my gosh, he was so excited because the first 2 weeks, he hasn't been in school 2 years between COVID, then I kept him home. So the first 2 weeks, it was extremely hard with his anxiety, getting back to school. We started part-time. Cassandra was great to work with me to see what would best help him to get him into school. And little by little, got him there. She would meet him every day at the door, take him to his classes. So everything worked out. So now, that being said, I'm sorry. I said so much from memory that now I forgot where I left off.
Take your time.
Whatever, okay. All right, so now I'm really disappointed in the choice of removing 2 people that are very supportive for Trevor. 1, Dr. Anderson, removing her as the high school principal. 2, Cassandra as his caseworker. Dr. Anderson, I really feel is the reason that Trevor feels very safe and really secure in the school. A few years ago, before Dr. Anderson, to be honest with you, I wouldn't send my worst enemy to that high school. It was extremely bad. The kids were basically running the school, the bullying, harassment. There would be students coming from the high school that stood up here and talked about it, how their friends would leave, how there was homeschool. So it was really bad. She moved to the high school and yes, she was tough, but she took back that school and she don't tolerate nothing, but she also has a great way to being with the kids. So it's not the point of she wants to scare the kids. It's all about respect. Let's do the right thing. And Trevor every morning would stop in till this day, see her, hi, talk about his day, anything new. He has such a great bond with that, but he feels comfortable. He had one incident with one student that was ready to start from back in Glen Meadow. And in the beginning, Trevor was first trying to handle it. Then he came home and we were starting where they were starting to throw spitballs at him. And I could see it escalating. And I said, Trevor, do you want me to call Dr. Anderson, talk about, we need to stop it now? He says, no, I'm going to go talk to her. And he did. And by the next day, he's like, it stopped, Mom. That was it. And that is the first time that things happened so quickly. And it was wonderful that it definitely happened. But it's all about, if you're not doing the right thing, there's going to be consequences. And there should be. Taken away that they're not held accountable for that. What are we teaching the kids? And it seems like a lot today that there's just nobody being held accountable. You have to think twice before taking things away. With a lot of schools and a lot of kids that I see, parents are ready to jump. If their kid gets in trouble or recess is being taken away, the parents are ready to jump and attack. Why is this happening? This shouldn't be happening. Sorry, if your child is doing the right thing, then you don't have to worry about having them not have recess or this. It's all about learning. And as we become adults, you want your kids to learn how to be in society, be respectful adults. And it's really important. And I feel that's what Dr. Anderson is. She's old school and I'm old school. We used to worry that if a principal called at home, oh my gosh, you would get in trouble. Now it's, unfortunately, what do you mean that happened to my kid? Prove it. And it's just, it's not right. And I feel removing her is such a bad choice. The other thing that I'm really, really upset about is Mrs. Goodencroft, who was assistant principal in Glen Meadow. And during this time, we did have a lot of problems where things were not taken care of properly. The one incident is where a student told Trevor, shut your mouth or else made a gesture that I will slit your throat. That should have been a hib. It was a gesture. And unfortunately, for whatever excuse, it was never a hit. And that was so wrong because regardless, he did the gesture. He was going to slit his throat. He told him to shut his mouth. Mrs. Goodencroft and my husband, myself, we were getting into words over this, saying this wasn't right. It would have to be investigated. It was still. Oh, he really didn't understand what he was doing. That was the excuse. 6th grade. I know the games that he was playing. He talked about Grand Theft Auto, which if anybody is aware of that, if you can play Grand Theft Auto, you definitely know what that gesture was. Nothing was done. And unfortunately, it just continued to the point that my son had to be bedside tutoring, depressed. I mean, while this kid that was doing everything was still in school, no consequences. And it just came on and on. So then they changed it, got new assistant principal, and Mrs. Gephardt came and things like changed and got better. Trevor at that point was still out of school, but I did hear that things were changing. And now to hear that now Mrs. Goodencroft is going to be an assistant principal at the high school. I'm going to be writing a letter. I do not want any contact with her and with Trevor because there was just so much. That security is just, he has no security with that. And he knows that she didn't stick by his side. It was more, let me see what they can do, making excuses for these kids, and I'm not going to go through that again. It's not right. So now you're talking about my son who feels really good and such a positive school year, great, principal taken away, Mrs. Goodencroft being the assistant principal, and I also heard his caseworker is getting moved. So there is a lot now come September that trying to have Trevor understand why, you know, here we had such a great support group that helped, and I feel safe in my school and the kids, and talking to other parents that I know had problems in the past. It's like, oh, it's great, you know, that we don't have none of this anymore and our kids can feel safe, and all that's being taken away. So I'm really disappointed in that. And I hope maybe before September that you can discuss it and maybe possibly change your mind on that. But thank you very much.
Karen, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I'm so excited for Trevor. I remember when we started the anti-bullying.
Yes.
Yeah, and he really helped us to help all these other students. So he's a
Thank
very
you.
special young man.
Thank you so much.
for
And
sharing.
he's doing amazing. And one other thing I have to share. So it's like I said, it's been crazy. I have a Great Dane who just gave birth
Ooh.
on Sunday to 8 puppies, 7 girls and 1 boy. And Trevor and 2 other students in carpentry class with Mr. Demsak made a beautiful, beautiful whelping box
Oh.
that I'm actually going to share pictures with Dr. Anderson.
Oh, please do.
And it's amazing how beautiful that made this. And he was just so proud. And it was funny because then when they're ready to give birth, they will decide where they feel comfortable.
Mhm.
And well, she loves my mom. She hangs out, my mom lives with me, hangs out in my mom's room. So needless to say, her bed became her birthing bed. So thank God we had everything protected. And Trevor, of course, he didn't want to see the birth or nothing. But the next morning, he's hearing this. He's like, wait a minute, we did all this work. He says, and they're not using the whelping box? I go, Trev, no, not 8 puppies are not staying on grandma's bed. They're all going to be in the whelping box, and they are using it. But it was beautiful. And that's the other thing, Mr. Demsak, I know, is I think he's going to be guidance or something. So that's getting changed too. So he's also going to have a different carpentry teacher, which he's aware of. He's not aware of the other changes. I feel when the time comes or whatever, then we could figure out the best way to help him to understand. But like I said, I do hope that maybe he'll reconsider some of the changes.
Thank you.
But thank you so much.
Oh, gosh, my pleasure. Good seeing you.
Thank you. It was nice seeing everybody. Have a nice time.
Thank you.
Hi, Vicki Smith, from
from Lake Walk Hill. I'm also the VTEA president and the VTHS high school teacher. And I'm here with more good news. Okay, I
like
don't know
good
if
news.
everybody checked out the new, wait a minute, we got to get the Advertiser North today. They have a children's edition, which they include inside the insert, and not only the front cover, but the back cover. The artwork is done by our Glen Meadow students, 2 of our Glen Meadow students. And so if you have a chance to look through it, inside is artwork, and the children did advertisements for local businesses. Plus they have writing in there. They were given a prompt by the Advertiser North, and each of the students would write according to the prompt. So it's just a really nice chock full of what our students are doing, but also shows what our educators, what our art faculty are putting forth and having our children see it in print. And I know that when my children did it, they're all excited about this. So it's something that you might want to look at. And I also have some very good news that Lisa Herkler, once again, has won a grant through the NJEA HIP. It is sponsored by Visions Credit Union of $8,000 for her project of social justice art and book club. So I wanted to put that. She just found out, I believe, like end of last week. So I wanted to make sure that the board is aware of that, and I'm sure you'll be going to hear a lot more in the coming months.
That's amazing.
Okay? Thank you.
$8,000. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one in the audience, is there anybody online?
Yeah, we do have more.
Okay. Hi, Martin, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. How are you today?
Okay, fine. I just would like to comment, I couldn't see the comment that we shouldn't raise the taxes by the 2%. I have a question for all the people who are of that opinion. Ever since the Second World War, there was no 10-year period in this country where the inflation was less than 3%. I would like to ask all those persons to address, if we don't raise by 2%, how can this school system be sustainable? I was a couple of years ago, I think it's a couple of years before COVID, part of the committee that looked at the schools, and we have another 10 million of things to fix. We have electrical systems that look like the pre-World War II. I know they are not, they're a little bit younger, but they look like it. We have other things that are leaking and in disrepair needing to be replaced. How are we going to maintain the school safely? I would like everybody who does not want to raise taxes, look at today's minutes and look at the minutes so far this year and in the past few months and compare them to the minutes of, let's say, 5, 6, 7 years ago. We have a zillion, countless sixth periods. That means we don't have enough teachers to work them the regular legal 5 periods. To keep class sizes down, we have to ask teachers for pay, of course, to put in a 6 periods. Okay? How is that sustainable? We have, it has been mentioned multiple times, and it is one of our goals to bring class sizes back down. Class sizes means more teachers. How are we going to pay these more teachers if we don't secure the funds to do so? At the same time, there's a nationwide teacher shortage that is brought forward by things like teacher pay lagging much more than other people with a master's or bachelor's degree in the country behind, teachers getting out of the professions, less kids getting into the profession. So how are we going to stay competitive to not continue to raise class sizes. I see even with 2% a year, I see us over the next 10 to 15 years raise class sizes significantly and cut after school programs and other programs along the line. And that if we raise our taxes 2% every year. If we lose a banked cap, which we have done in the past, we do not get that back. Those 2% are gone forever. A few years ago, I think 1 year ago or 2 years ago, Martin McDonald worked really hard to cut off, I think it was a couple $100,000 of our taxes. Those couple $100,000 are going to miss every year. This year, they're missing next year, they're missing the year after, in perpetuity, because we do not have there's no path under current law, and I don't see the law changing because it's politicians first want to get elected. And unfortunately, there are quite a few politicians on the board do not have the public good in mind first. There are some members who very much have the public good in mind first. So it comes down to, please, if you say do not raise the taxes, please explain how you're gonna keep the school district sustainable. How high do you want class sizes to go? How many teachers are you willing to lose, which will raise class sizes? What parts of the building do you want to let fall in disrepair? Are we just gonna put a tape in front of the bridge that we mentioned today at Glen Meadow and say nobody walk on it and don't walk underneath it because it get hit by rocks? So I just would like those people and the gentleman who made that comment before in particular to explain how he would like to keep this school system running in perpetuity without providing it with the proper funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Is there anybody else? No. Okay, we'll close it to public participation and move on to item I.
Can we hear the results?
So, Carolyn, are you going to take this one or?
You ready to do this? Sure, you should do it. It's the budget.
Here we go. Okay. It is recommended that the board approve the attached resolution regarding the 22-23 school budget.
I have a motion for letter I.
So moved.
Oh, my
Jump at
goodness.
once.
Okay, Ms. Luthner, second, Mr. Sweeney. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus,
No.
Ms. Luther.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We're going to take out J, correct?
Yeah, so I'd like to verbally remove the closed session that's noted on the agenda. We had originally thought we would need an additional closed session for student matters. However, that is not necessary at this time, so I'd like to remove that from the agenda. Ms. Mitchell, with your permission.
Thank you.
Of course, then we don't need to go back to open session. We're going to go into closed, right? Okay, so I'm going to keep the superintendent's report brief. I don't know if Mr. Vetrano can pull up the next slideshow. We had so many wonderful things happening in the district that Dr. McKee and I just put them in a couple of slides. So it really is a season of celebrations. I mean, this evening we got to talk about our Teachers of the Year. So we're just going to show a few pictures of what's happening around the district. So Mr. Vetrano, if you can go to the next slide, please. This young man is no stranger to us, but once again, Wesley Sanders has another accolade. So we'd like to congratulate him as the winner of the New Jersey Wind Symphony 2022 Youth Soloist Competition. Wesley was here at our board meeting once before, and you'll be hearing him sing a lot from him, but we really wanted to congratulate another special achievement for Wes. Next slide. Colin Duffy, this young man is actually an 8th grader at Glen Meadow Middle School. He's going to be competing at nationals for gymnastics in Battle Creek, Michigan, from April 29th until May 2nd. He actually is at Kennett's Gymnastics up in Goshen, and he competes at a level 7-8 at the national level. So congratulations to Colin. It is a very, very, very competitive, difficult sport, and we really wish him all the best. So good luck to Colin. Really quite an accomplishment. Dr. McKay spoke about Ava Dilzer a little bit a short time ago. You can see her picture actually right in the back there, right, Chuck?
Yeah.
Picture there also with Lisa Herkler. And again, we're very, very proud of her for her painting at the Wallkill Valley Regional High School Invitational Art Show. So congratulations, Ava. Many of you know this young man also, Christian Vintamilla. So congratulations to Christian. He's graduating in June. Unfortunately, he will graduate. He will have to leave for the Air Force June 23rd, which is, I think, the day of graduation, high school graduation. So we will have to do something special for him. Dr. Anderson and I have already talked about that. He was actually accepted to both West Point and the Air Force Academy, which is quite unique. He was recognized by the Township Committee on Monday. I was there to support him. Of course, we're very, very proud of Christian. He is a remarkable young man. I'll be doing a superintendent spotlight with him coming up in the next few weeks so that the community can get to know him a little bit better. He's really quite something. Next slide. And this is just kind of now, but there are so many more things. These are just a few of the schools where our Vernon grads have been accepted.
Nice.
What's the matter, Mr. Simon? What? He's been asking. Well, then your wish has been granted, right? And this is just the beginning, right? This is early. We don't have everything yet, but so our students, and this is a class of 22, have been accepted to Yale University, Princeton University, Bucknell, Cornell. I mean, look at some of the schools up there, right? So when I said earlier in the budget presentation about creating those K-8 programs that support our kids, our students at the high school, so that they can take advantage of our fabulous teachers and be prepared for schools like this, that's what we're really excited about, right? So more to come. This is really early, right, Chuck?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but the high school has, if you're on Twitter and you follow VTHS, you could follow hashtag what's next. And that will talk about, we're starting to post where the children are going once they graduate Vernon Township High School. So this is just a snapshot. We're very, very proud of our students. Really just wanted to highlight some of that in the superintendent's report for this evening.
So is this, do we collect that or do they voluntarily tell you when you get, like, how do we know who got in where?
They voluntarily share it with us.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't collect it. But of course, kids are extremely proud, right?
Yeah.
In general. And there are some students, listen, for example, these are where students have been accepted. Some students will have to decide between Yale and Princeton, right? What a quandary, Yale or Princeton, right? But at the same time,
I don't see West Point or Air Force Academy.
that's right. So like I said, it's a snapshot. My apologies. I know. So, like I said, we were trying to populate some of this stuff today. So, but there really are, it really is a nice representation and more to come. So, but yeah, it is based on students sharing with us and just being excited and coming in and telling
May
their
1st is
teachers.
coming.
Yep.
That's when.
That's when they usually.
Oh, is that when they, okay.
Yeah, that's actually
so
the
this week,
National
that's it.
Acceptance Day or something, right?
This
So-
week is the deposits are due.
You
Yeah.
bet.
Deposits are due. All of the seniors.
That's what in
Deposits are
May,
due.
right? In May, when we have our public meeting, we'll have a much longer list. So thank you, Mr. Vetrano. And then there were just a few items on the agenda. Pleased to announce, of course, our Cedar Mountain students are the artists of the month. I do not have a picture, so Mr. Sweeney, I apologize. We will have to make sure that we attend to that next time. And of course, for the Glen Meadow Middle School students that will have their artwork displayed at the municipal building. And a very special thank you and recognition to Colin Yamansky. and her family for donating over 100 brand new books to our school district. So thank you. Yep, that's wonderful, right? I think this is lovely. The parents, Mr. and Mrs. Umansky, are so grateful for all that our teachers have done over the past few years. And we know that everybody has been extremely stressed during COVID. They wanted to say thank you by donating books to the Vernon Township School District community to show their gratitude. They've been distributed to our district schools for classroom use, as well as for circulation in our library. So the Umansky family are avid readers. They could think of nothing better than the gift of books. I certainly agree. Special thank you to the Umansky family.
Fantastic. Thank you.
May I move on to item 2?
Yes, please.
Under recommendations, 2A, it is recommended that the board approve the following faculty staff resignations, retirements, terminations, leaves, transfers, assignment changes, appointments, stipend, salary adjustments, student teaching, mentoring, as listed. It is the bottom of page 4. The table continues on to page 5 and the top of page 6.
I have a motion for 2A, please.
So moved.
Mr. Kraus?
Second.
Second. Mr. Zimmerman? Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin? Abstain. Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Lubner?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Pellet?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank
Well,
you.
Before we go on, I just wanted to point out 2 names. Resignation, Sam Cave. I want to thank Sam for all of her years of service in the school district. Sam was a student coming to the school and of course has taught math at the high school. And I wish her the best of luck with the rest of her career. And then someone that has been with us since 1975. I'll say that again. Someone that has been with us since 1975, Miss Nesta Jones, who is the most wonderful person and came in all the time as treasurer of the school monies and made sure that everything was balanced. Nesta, we're going to miss you, but we wish you and Dave the best. But 1975.
Wow.
Mhm.
Thank you. Item B, it is recommended that the board approve professional development travel that complies with the provisions of New Jersey statutes annotated NJSA 18A:11-12 attachment B.
Can I have a motion for B, please?
So moved.
Ms. Luther?
Second.
Second, Ms. Pellet? Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Lubner?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Pellet?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, it is recommended that the board approve the harassment, intimidation, and bullying, school safety, and random drug testing reports.
Can I have a motion for C, please?
So moved.
Mr. Sweeney?
Second.
Second, Mr. Kraus? Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Coughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Lubner?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Pellet?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item D, and just to note for the board, a copy of the memorandum of expectation was at your seats. It was reviewed by the board attorney before being placed on the agenda. It is recommended that the board approve the memorandum of expectation between Educator International and the Vernon Township School District for the 22-23 school year.
Motion for D, please.
So moved.
Ms. Luther?
Second.
Second, Ms. Pellet? Questions or comments?
Did the attorney make any recommendations or is this?
She did, but those include the revisions that the
Okay.
attorney recommended.
All right, very good, thank you.
I was asked how somebody would become a host family. So how
I'm
would they?
so glad you asked that. So there's actually a podcast coming out tomorrow.
Fantastic.
And if they watch the podcast, they will see the email for the person who is our local coordinator. The board approved Mrs. Curry in our office as the local coordinator. And if you watch the podcast, due to the magic of Matt Shea, he will put her little email address is right at the bottom of the podcast. Lisa
Fantastic.
Curry. Yeah.
Good, good, good. Exciting stuff.
We're gonna be living at Kelly's house. You can see it now.
How many if you can count?
Oh, no, no. You're an empty nester. I had a lot of
It's an effort
dogs.
to bring up the revenues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have
No,
a 6 or
I think
7
it's
at the
great.
Sweeney household.
Joking about Kelly's house.
Bring them over to the Sweeney's, yeah.
I'm hoping Mrs. Sweeney's not watching.
Okay.
They will
Roll
work,
call,
of
please.
course. They will
Oh my
work.
gosh, we're saying inappropriate things. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Abstain?
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Lubner,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We currently have, I think, 4 students that we're anticipating for the fall. I think 1 from Germany, 2 from Spain, and 1 from Brazil. So very exciting. Thank you. Item E, it is recommended that the board approve half-days for Walnut Ridge, Cedar Mountain, Rolling Hills, Nemsbury Hollow, Glen Meadow, and VTHS as follows. Friday, June 17th through June 23rd for the end of the school year.
Motion for E, please.
So moved.
Ms. Luther,
Second.
Ms. Pellet, questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Lubner,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. It is recommended that the board approve Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022 as the Glen Meadow Middle School Advancement and Thursday, June 23rd as the VTHS graduation.
Motion for F, please.
So moved.
Mr. Kraus,
Second.
Ms. Pellet, questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Lubner,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item G is, it is recommended that the board approve the attached personnel agenda for the 22-23 school year. Locations are tentative and subject to transfer. Attachment C, and the included categories are listed numbers 1 through 8 on your agendas.
Motion for G, please.
So moved.
Mr. Sweeney, second, Ms. Lutner. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes. Abstain from item number 4.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Lubner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item H, it is recommended that the board approve and authorize the submission of the American Rescue Plan, ARP, Homeless Children and Youth, HCY 2 application for the fiscal year 2022.
I have a motion for H, please.
So moved.
Ms. Lutner,
Second.
Mr. Zimmerman, questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Lubner,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item I, it is recommended that the board accept the grant award of these funds in the amount of $7,603 upon the subsequent approval of the fiscal year 2022 American Rescue Plan, ARP, Homeless Children and Youth, HCY 2 application.
Can I have a motion for I, please?
So moved.
Ms. Lutner,
Second.
Ms. Pellet, questions or comments?
That was quick, huh?
You approved it and
Yes.
there's the second.
Right in there it is. It should all work out well, right?
A lot of money.
Good work.
Roll call, please.
Guys
Ms.
are quick.
Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Lubner,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item J, it is recommended that the board approve the strong evaluation model for both teachers and administrators.
Can I have a motion for J, please?
So moved.
Ms. Lutner,
Second.
Ms. Pellet? Questions or comments?
I'm sorry, I should have asked this last time, but why do we have to approve this? This is like, This is your stuff.
Yes, of
right?
course. What you're approving is the model itself. When New Jersey went to the standards, they developed 7 individual models. It's now really down to 5.
Yeah.
And each board has to decide what model they're going to use. We've used the strong model since this
The decision, yeah.
decision had to be made.
Mhm.
We're very comfortable with it, but every year it has to be approved.
Thank you.
You got it.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Luther?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes,
Ms. Pellet?
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you. Item K, it is recommended that the board approve establishing an emotional regulation impairment or ERI class at Vernon Township High School for the 22-23 school year.
Can I have a motion for K, please?
So
Mr. Sweeney?
Second.
Ms. Luther? Questions or comments?
Could we just get a description of what an ERI class is? Just for
ERI is used at one time was called a behavioral disabilities class. So the new term or phrase is emotional regulation impairment.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Luther?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes,
Ms. Pellet?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
yes.
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you. Item L, it is recommended that the board approve the following appointments for the Community Learning Center in Glen Meadow Middle School for the 21-22 school year. All positions are being paid by the 21st Century Community Learning Center grant, as noted on the chart.
Can I have a motion for L, please?
So move.
Mr. Sweeney?
Second.
Ms. Pellet? Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Coughlin?
No, I know. I'm going to abstain. Something looks weird. Yeah, I'll just abstain for now.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Luther?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes,
Ms. Pellet?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Can I still ask you a question?
go ahead.
You can ask questions.
I mean, she's resigning. They will hire her as a substitute teacher?
Yes, the situation is that it's from 3 to 6 in the afternoon, as everybody knows.
5
And
days a week.
it's 5 days a
Monday to
week,
Friday.
and they're having trouble getting substitutes. So Ms. Shep, Dr. Shep, who will be taking over as our STEM coordinator, is just saying, before we get to July 1st, if they need someone, she's available.
Okay.
What's up?
Yes.
Thanks. For
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item M, we are going to remove.
Right.
Okay, so we'll move on to N.
Item N, it is recommended that the board approve the sidebar agreement between the VTEA and the Vernon Township Board of Education.
Can I have a motion for item N, please?
So moved.
Ms. Luther?
Second.
Mr. Zimmerman, questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Luther?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes,
Ms. Pellet?
No.
Mr. Sweeney?
Abstain.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you. Item O, it is recommended that the board accept the district performance review DPR responses regarding the quality single accountability continuum QSAC requirements and approve submission of the QSAC document to the state NJDOE.
Can I have a motion for item O, please?
So, second.
Ms. Luther and Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
questions or comments?
Yeah, I just want to say what a great job you guys did on this, man. I'm just blown away how good that is.
Ton of work.
You and your entire team.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Yeah, there's
Thank
a
you. We're
ton of work put in. And
We're-
we-
we're
They're
almost
still working
there.
on it.
We're almost
Yes.
there. We're in QSAC war room right now, but
That's crazy.
and the people that are coming to see us are wonderful. Don't get me wrong.
They're doing a
But it's
great
just,
job.
you have to make sure that you have everything in place. So,
They
Great
check
job.
everything.
yes,
Good work.
Did we get a copy of that?
we have it from November. It's the one that you saw in November and approved. It just has to be approved again as we head into. Every 3 years, you go through the CUSAC process. Before that, you have an earlier version. After that, the following 2 years, you approve just the read, which is called the DPR. So you approve the DPR in November. I just want to make sure it's in the binder. And it's already been signed by it's been signed by the president of the Board of Education and the president of the union. I just want it in the binder, so I want to make sure that you know that we're going into CUSAC. So this is sort of my announcement to everyone that we're about to head into it.
Thank you.
So then this is just a second
Second time
acceptance.
Of the same
Could
document.
we have that noted in here? Because that's what I was confused about.
Sure.
Yeah, that really should be noted. It's already been accepted in November, but this is just a
Mhm.
assurance of some sort, which is fine.
It's
But-
because it's going to be the first page of the document.
Right. But yeah, that should be noted somehow.
Sure. So it we recommended the board accept the district performance DPR that they approved in November. Is all it needs to say.
Okay. And I have a roll call on the amended item O.
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ms. Joseph, you're up again.
I'm up again. Informational items of the use of building and grounds, okay, as listed, goes through page 9 and the half of page 10. Field trips as listed, page 10 and half of page 11. C, pursuant to the New Jersey Administrative Code, I certify that as of March 31st, 2022, no budgetary line account has obligations or payments in which total exceed the amount appropriated by the District Board of Education. As board secretary in D, okay, it's a review list of professional services reappointments for the 22-23 school year, which will be approved in May. Number 2, it is recommended that the board approve the following financial reports: the listing of checks, the list of hand checks, the list of transfers, and purchase orders.
A motion for 2A, please.
So moved.
Mr. Sweeney?
Second.
Second, Ms. Luther. Questions or comments? A roll call, please.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes, abstain is noted.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Mr. Luther.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. It is recommended that the board accept the report of secretary for current operating fund for the month of March 2022 and the report of the treasurer for school monies for the month of March 2022.
I have a motion for 2B, please.
So moved.
Mr. Sweeney?
Second.
Second, Ms. Luther. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
I have transportation quotes, and they are as listed on page 12, page 13, as well as page 13. Again.
Can I
D?
have-
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You're recommending that, so I need to have a
Yeah,
motion.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So can I have a motion on 2C, please?
So moved.
Ms. Luther?
Second.
Second, Ms. Pellet. Questions or comments?
Question, all these board transportations, like it just gives a place, but it doesn't say what they're for.
Yeah.
What are they
Something that's-
for?
I'm sorry, would you say, it does give. a
Like, for
place-
example, like on page 13, the student, let's go the first one, it says board, it's going to Don Bosco. What is it going to Don Bosco for?
Oh, 4.
What students and.
I mean, I think
Okay.
that should start being specified for these things, that way we know.
All right. as noted, what we can do is check into that. And I could see if they can put the explanation at the net, our
We
next.
could add a
board meeting.
column, right?
Pardon me?
We could add a column.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what I'm thinking. Okay. we're gonna
Yeah,
have
just something, so that way we know.
Yeah, no problem.
It's a
Okay.
99% likelihood that they are athletic events.
Thank you,
We're-
Mr.
we're-
Sweeney. I never would have.
The ones
guessed
that are board costs.
Oh.
The
You
student
have to
costs.
be joking.
No.
Oh, I
she-
see.
Are you
Jennifer
serious?
mentioned,
There's
Jennifer
sports?
mentioned the student costs.
I know,
The
that's
Turtleback Zoo, that's what
student.
I was
I love
addressing.
Turtleback Zoo.
That's
just as a
student.
Side note.
We're gonna beat them too.
Glad to see field trips again.
Yeah.
We do
Field
have
trip, we
weddings
know
at
that.
Turtleback Zoo, by the way.
So that's why I said
Not married
student board.
She did.
Are you guys done with your?
Obviously, there's sports, I'm just saying specify.
Carrie, are we ready?
We need a roll call, please. I know you want to get out of here.
Yes, please.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes,
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Number D. Whereas the Special Services Department has determined that individual students require special education placement based upon their individual needs. Therefore, be it resolved that the Vernon Township Board of Education approve the contracts listed below.
Motion for 2D, please.
So moved.
Ms. Luther?
Second. I'm
Second.
down on the job here.
Questions or comments?
yeah, quick question. Performance Pediatrics, it's not a student number. So, and it's extraordinary services.
PT to cover for, just to cover persons out.
Transportation? Oh, placement. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the, okay. I got you. So then we're covering extraordinary services with someone out through
Mhm.
Performance Pediatrics at
Mhm.
15,000.
Yep.
To meet multiple needs, students' needs.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes,
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes,
Ms. Pellet.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you.
E, it is recommended that the board approve the 22-23 payroll schedule.
Can I have a motion for 2E, please?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Zimmerman, questions or comments? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
yes,
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes,
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you. Now we're going to remove F, correct?
Yes, we're going to remove motion F and continue to motion G. It is recommended that the board approve professional support non-public services agreement between the Vernon Township Board of Education and the Educational Services Commission of Morris County for the 22-23 school year. Services will be utilized on an as-needed basis.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for 2G, please?
So moved.
Ms. Luther?
Second.
Mr. Sweeney, questions or comments? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Coughlin,
abstain.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes,
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you.
H, it is recommended that the board approve the agreement for professional services between the Vernon Township Board of Education and the Educational Services Unit of the Burlington County for the 22-23 school year.
Can I have a motion for 2H, please?
So moved.
Ms. Luther?
Second.
Mr. Kraus, questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes,
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin.
Abstain.
Next one. I, it is recommended that the board approve transportation to include the joint resolution for participation in the public, private, charter, and choice transportation services with the Sussex County Regional Cooperative for the 22-23 school year.
Can I have a motion for 2I, please?
So moved.
Ms. Luther?
Second,
Good, Ms. Pellet? Questions or comments? Can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
J, it is recommended that the board approve transportation to include the joint resolution for participation in special education transportation services for the Sussex County Regional Cooperative for the 22-23 school year.
Can I have a motion for 2J, please?
So moved.
Ms. Luther?
Second.
Mr. Sweeney? Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Luther.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
K, it is recommended that the board approve transportation to include the joint resolution for the athletic and field trip transportation services with the Sussex County Regional Cooperative for the 2022-23 school year.
Can I have a motion for 2K,
So
please?
moved.
Mr. Sweeney?
Second, Coughlin.
Ms. Coughlin? Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
I lost track.
No, L.
On my
sorry,
L, I
L.
thought that.
Going backwards.
It is recommended that the board approve an amendment to the 2021-22 Perkins.
Five.
Who's it? Perkins 5, I'm sorry. Perkins 5 grant to accept additional funding in the amount of $12,023 and for the reallocation of funds due to the changes in how these funds will be utilized.
Can I have a motion for 2L,
So
please?
moved.
Mr. Sweeney?
So, oh,
Ooh,
Mr.
you guys getting
Zimmerman?
fast.
Questions or comments?
Yeah,
Where are they being
what are- yeah.
reallocated to?
Perkins 5 is offering $12,023 more. Perkins 5 is not brand new, but close to being brand new. And they're just adjusting the way they're doing the funding. This is all about our CTE programs.
Right, yeah.
We've said this in the past. In the past, we received maybe $14,000 from Perkins. It's now up to about $120,000
Excellent. Excellent.
based on the programs. But when it comes through, you have to put this wording in because then you can move things around. So let's say a certain amount went to all each one of the clubs. Each one of the CTEs has a club after school. Let's say you're paying for the advisor for each of the clubs. Well, let's say you're also paying for the students who are involved in the clubs. Well, that money can be adjusted now to other things as well. So it's an additional piece of money that we can use, but it would all go to the CTE program.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
She's right.
Yes.
Turn her off.
Mrs. Coughlin,
yes.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
M, it is recommended that the board approve the application to apply for the 22-23 Perkins 5 grant.
Can I have a motion for 2M?
So moved.
please?
Second,
Mr.
Coughlin.
Sweeney, Mr. Mrs. Coughlin.
Talking.
Questions or comments?
Yes, we need your permission to actually apply for the grant.
Really?
I know.
That's weird, right?
I know, John. It's just,
Roll call, please.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet.
Yes.
Motion carries.
N, it is recommended that the board approve the purchase of a chiller for the Lounsbury Hollow School in the amount of $89,533. This is for the 2021-22 Capital Reserve Project, and the vendor is under a purchasing co-op.
Can I have a motion for 2N, please?
So moved.
Luther,
Second, Coughlin.
Coughlin, questions or comments?
Just real quick, what's a chiller? What is it? I don't know what it is.
For the.
Is it like a water cooler or something?
No. it's not.
Yeah, that's what you would think,
Like
right?
chiller-
Chilling some
It's
wine.
an air-
Do you know what it is? Do you want me to
It's a-
answer?
it's a-
Air conditioning unit.
It happens to filter cold air.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So it's an air conditioner,
Something.
pretty much.
Yes, but a quite large air conditioner,
Okay.
okay? And it's outside of the building, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. It's not an air conditioner. It's a large
Like a huge
unit.
central air unit kind of thing?
And it filters the water, okay, through pipes.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank you.
that's as technical as I can get at this moment.
Roll call, please. Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coghlan,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus,
sure, why not?
Mrs. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs.
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on with O. It is recommended that the board approve the transfer of monies from capital reserve, the 2021-22 capital reserve project for the purchase of the chiller for the Lounsbury Hollow School in the amount of $89,533.
Can I have a motion for 2O, please?
So moved.
Ms.
Second.
Luther?
Mhm.
Mr. Zimmerman? Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Coghlan,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes,
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
P, it is recommended that the board approve Phase 2 and Phase 3 with EI Associates, Architects, and Engineers for the following projects: the tennis court, music room, and the bridge and balcony repairs. I wanted to note that Phase 1 will now have a reduction of their cost by $15,000.
Why is
Good
that?
work.
I mean, that's good.
I need a motion first.
Oh, sorry.
So moved.
Sorry.
Second.
Luther, Sweeney, now.
Now you can ask your questions.
Oh, I was just curious why the reduction.
Because Miss Joseph
Yes,
is
good
like
work, Carolyn.
amazing.
A rock star,
She
yeah,
is a
it's kind of my
rock star.
favorite.
I appreciate that. I spoke to them and I told them that they need to do something for us. And,
magic.
and what they came up with is that I did ask them, by the way, just so everybody knows, that there is not a scale. Because I thought just by looking at what I had calculated that there was some type of percentage scale for dollars in a project. It is not. What they do is they look at the project itself, and then they determine the time and all the testing and everything that may or may not be done with the project. So it's not a scale like dollar wise that they would charge X amount of percentage, except when you get to a very large multi-million-dollar bond, project. That's a whole different story. So in doing that and understanding that, okay, I said to them, well, what can you do with the 3 projects that we have? Unfortunately, there weren't really much that sway that they could do with that. So they said, but with Phase 1 that they're working on as we speak, they will do in-house information testing and reports, et cetera, and they will give us a $15,000 reduction.
Fantastic job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Coghlan,
Yes.
Mr. Kraus,
yes,
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
And Q is the next one, just to move the money so we can pay for these Phase 2 and Phase 3. And it is recommended that the board approve the transfer of monies from capital reserve for EI Associates to proceed with Phase 2 and 3 of the following projects, and they are as listed.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for 2Q, please?
So moved.
Second.
Luther? Ms. Pellet? Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kraus,
yes,
Ms. Luther,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Pellet,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Coghlan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That
Thank you.
concludes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let it queue, huh? You went all the way up to Q.
Yeah, this was a long one. Okay, so we're going to move on to public participation. If anybody in the audience would like to come up, okay. Is there anybody online? Okay. So-
we do have one actually.
Okay. Jesse, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to say that I want to thank Nesta Jones for her service to the Vernon Township School District. I've known Nesta for 40 years, and she is without a doubt. Alexa, stop. Sorry. My timer. She is without a doubt one of the finest individuals who ever worked in our school district. And I just wanted to say that. I also want to recognize Dr. Chuck McKay. I already did at a previous meeting, but our district will certainly be sorry to see him go. My sons had Dr. McKay, and Dr. McKay is the person who taught me some 35 years ago when I went on a field trip to New York City with him, the saying, "The fish rots from the head." I have used that term many times since then, but Dr. McKay was a fantastic teacher. Did he want to say something?
No, I didn't know who we were talking about when we talked about fish rotting, so. Yeah.
Well, no, that's not even important.
Yeah. Goodness.
And I just want to say thank you for your service to our district. Vernon Township Schools will definitely have a different face without you there. And I want to thank you, and I want to wish you and Nesta the best in your retirement. Thank you.
In my honor. While we're talking about that, I think it's very important that I say this. While it's very important for people in the public to say something positive about administrators and teachers, etc., I do chafe at what we heard tonight about one of our administrators. We work very hard here, and it's very simple for one parent to have an experience with an administrator and then say that that's what that administrator does. That is not the truth. The truth is everyone's truth. So I did have a problem with some negative comments that were made tonight about one of our administrators. That we are in a great school district. This is what you saw tonight. We are in a great school district. We have a wonderful leader. We have wonderful teachers. You saw how much compassion and caring. And I just hope that as I'm leaving, everybody continues to show the great things that we see from our students with all those wonderful schools that they're going to and all those wonderful things that they're doing. Artists, that Iron Cross that young man is doing in 8th grade, I couldn't do it in my best day. These are great kids and great people working very hard to make sure that the students get the best. So just keep it positive.
Yes. And thank you for your positive comments, Jesse. They mean a lot to us. So thank you. Do we have anybody else?
Yeah, we have.
Okay, hi. I just want to add something. What I wanted to say was positive is I really like that you guys mentioned where kids go to college. I wish it wasn't based on self-reported. I think you have the ability to get that data. And I've been advocating for it for many years. It should be published all the time because it could help the reputation in the school in general. And the only other thing is constructive stuff is I would like to, well, I think that's enough for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. You have a good night.
Good night.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to close it to the public, and we're going to go on to item O, which is open board member forum. Okay, Teresa?
So I've been giving something some thought. I went to a competitive high school, and I also have multiple higher education degrees. And I appreciate colleges and universities to a very high degree. I have a very good understanding of them. And I'm even working on another higher education degree at the moment. But I don't want our students who are going off to work to feel as though they are not valued and appreciated. We have seniors graduating in a few weeks. And if you do not go to college, you are not a failure. And what I've noticed is often too much emphasis is placed on college. It's placed on where you go. And a lot of time, what's not given thought to is many families are sitting there late at night saying to themselves, how are we going to afford a $70,000 a year school? And for students who choose not to go to college or cannot go to college, whatever their decision is, as I said, I have multiple higher education degrees. I cannot do any plumbing in my house. I cannot do any electrical work in my house. I can't do landscaping. So anyone who chooses to go into a work position, I applaud you. You are valued, you are appreciated. And I don't want any of our students who are not going on to college to feel as though that they are less than. You are not. And I just wanted to say that because right now the emphasis is big on college, but everybody should be appreciated.
Thank you. That was well said, Teresa. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, thank you.
I completely agree with all of that, and I think we should do more to recognize our students and their achievements that are going on to careers, and maybe there's a way to do that more effectively. But I also do feel that, to Martin's point, we should be collecting data on that as well, on what our students' plans are and what their goals are when they leave, and then also on the college situations where they applied and how they did in a more proactive way. If it's voluntary, that's great, but maybe we can, I mean, we can't force people, I guess, to report that, but maybe we can encourage it more so that there's a bigger wealth of data for the students that are using that data to figure out where they can go and what their potentials are. And I don't know, maybe to Teresa's point, we can ask families to share anonymously somehow what they're paying, because those sticker prices aren't seemingly real. So maybe there's a way we can get our families more accurate, real information about what they're looking at in terms of the costs, in addition to what their kids can, expect from the application process. Just more data, we're very light on that here.
Yeah, I
Relative
agree,
to
Jen.
other
You
districts.
really should be paying an emphasis, because I know of students who are getting accepted into amazing schools, but I've heard from parents flat out, we're up at midnight. My husband and I are looking at each other saying, how do we tell our child no? How do we afford this school? And that's just so unfair. I mean, we can celebrate till we're blue in the face, all these amazing schools, but if it's not financially feasible or scholarships aren't made available, that list doesn't matter.
Right. And on the flip side, there are families who think, I'm not even going to have my kid apply, and they may
And
have, there may be schools for them that they can
Right,
afford
right.
that
Or
they don't
scholarships
realize,
they're
or
unaware of, or
scholarships
something. Yeah.
yeah. So just, I mean, because the data will tell, will inform your decision on where to apply and what you can expect. But we just don't seem to have that here here as much as some other schools, districts. So something we could work on.
I just want to say thank you guys for sharing some of the things that our students are doing outside of the classroom. As a board, we really do look to educate the whole child, and that just doesn't only show up on a report card in the classroom, on a state test, and seeing some of those things are really, I feel it in my heart. It's why we do what we do. So I hope to see more of that, and I hope more families volunteer with us what their students are doing outside of the classroom.
This is our next meeting.
Is the
Work session?
May
Yeah.
10th.
May 10th, so that'll be
No, May
after,
12th, I'm sorry.
after Mother's Day. Huh?
Yes.
So I just want to wish all of the mothers on the board and out in the public, happy Mother's Day. The whole weekend.
We will make a weekend. Yes.
And next week is Teacher Appreciation Week, so.
That's
That's
right.
Teacher
We
appreciation.
appreciate our teachers. I just want to show appreciation to my board members. I know that the past couple of weeks have been really difficult, and that you've taken numerous calls from me, and that you're sick of my voice. And I appreciate so much that we work together as a team. I think this is definitely the best team that I've been on. And I thank you, because it's just a collaborative effort, and you've done amazing things. And I know it's been really hard past couple of weeks. So thank you, thank you.
I would, two things. One, I like the list of the colleges that went there. Just because you celebrate kids' hard work and they achieve those schools doesn't necessarily mean you're slighting anybody else. It's just achieving what they did. Those are the schools they made. They may or may not go there, picking their choice. And there was a whole variety of schools there. Well, we did pick out Yale, and I think Princeton, SCC was there, and other schools were there. So I like it, and I think, we celebrate the sports guys. We celebrate a lot of people. Why don't we celebrate the academic kids? Because in the end, it's really school. If a kid won a sports award, we'd all celebrate it. Well, that's, for a lot of kids, that's their sport, academics.
That's true.
And second of all, just like with the whole budget process, Carolyn, Ms. Smith, Miss Joseph, Ms. Smith, sorry, and the other staff and administration putting together a very good way of looking at the whole thing that people can figure out, because certainly whoever came up with the financial ways to run a budget is really not from this planet. I don't know who thought it up, but they left and left us with this mess. So
Okay. Okay, well, thanks, everybody. This was very, very long. But we are up to letter P. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Ms. Pellet. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.